Thanks to Fatal Attraction Vanilla servers, Atlas, One Original DayZ servers, Clash Vanilla servers, Sgt. Pepper's DayZ Invasion server, the Struggle Bash Vanilla community, Sea of Tools Cloud, Neo Farmer servers, and the Comeback for making this video possible. Nowadays, DayZ tips come a dime a dozen, but every so often you come across a tip so epic that it literally changes the way that you play DayZ. So I place to you, dear viewer, that if I don't change the way that you play DayZ with one of these 10 tips, I'll delete my channel again. One of the preferred ways of interacting with other players in DayZ is trying to borrow gear without consent, which is best extracted from other players by getting them to drop their gear before showing their priceless reaction in the highly reflective black surface of the "You Are Dead" screen. This is because when you shoot a player with gear on, that gear takes damage. That isn't their gear. You're shooting the gear that you're going to get. You don't want to damage your own gear, and the items inside take damage too. This is not cool. To avoid damaging your future gear then, but also not risking holding them up, is to just blow them up, as players, when they're killed by explosives other than the landmine, won't take any damage at all. Explosives don't damage gear on players. On the flip side to the previous tip, the worst weapon to use when killing players to get their loot or your loot is the shotgun with buckshot shells. Each one of the 8 individual pellets that get split off with these buckshot shells damages gear independently, and as a result damages the gear you're going to borrow 8 times faster than firearms that shoot one projectile at a time, and has a much higher chance of ruining and triggering explosives in their gear too. In a way though, using buckshot to kill someone is kind of a flex that you don't need their crappy gear, and their death is purely for your entertainment. When you bust a leg in DayZ, you take shock damage when you travel on that leg using any method other than the prone stance. When you crawl along, you don't take damage. Now you can travel by car steal, you can somehow use the clutch and whatnot, or you can use some meds to bypass the shock damage a little bit, with the splint removing this shock damage completely so you can walk around on it. If you don't have any of these though, the fastest currently known method to travel is by holding down the walk button, which makes you look really drunk, taking 28 seconds to walk this distance here, where prone stance takes 50 seconds or around twice as long. Now, using what I'm calling the lunge stance, you can travel at twice the speed of walking without taking any shock damage. To lunge then, simply tap forward and then hold the prone button, lunging you forward, and then when you hit the floor, hold the prone button again and you will stand up. You just repeat this over and over again. Mastering the lunge stance is super easy and will double your travel speed with a broken leg compared to walking, while confusing the out of onlookers with your poor attempt at doing the worm. All combination actions in DayZ can be done through the hotbar and any item that's in your hands. So with an item in your hand, you can drag and drop to combine it in your inventory, but if you simply hold the hotbar key of the item you want to combine with the item in your hands, it does the exact same thing as dragging and dropping to this combine box here. This can be done with any 2 items that can be used together, such as repairing, transferring liquids, crafting, reloading certain ammo types, or even reloading certain magazines into your weapon. You can even take out an empty magazine out of your weapon, fill that mag with a certain ammo type on your hotbar, then reload that exact mag back into your weapon without opening your inventory once. And as an FYI, you can quickly assign the item you're hovering by holding the hotbar key you want to assign to it. So hover over the item, hold down the hotbar key, and then it will assign it automatically. By placing any item at the tip of a shadow you find in the world, you can find north in the game without a compass. Once placed, loot around the area for a bit, come back, and then place another item at where the same tip is now. Imagine a line and then look directly through that line from the side that the sun is on. The sun doesn't need to be directly at your back, but it needs to be on your back, making sure that all angles are 90 degrees. That's directly north through the center of this. This works on all DayZ servers, and it works on any game that has shadows and realistic day cycles. The devs added a way for us to test heat sources in the game, showing us that there's an outer circle that has a variable heat value and an inner circle that gives us a maximum heat value. Because this inner circle gives you max heat from the heat source, there is absolutely no reason to get closer than this. You don't need to burn yourself in a fire. This will give you maximum heat to your player. However, this doesn't work the same for drying clothes. The closer your clothes are, the faster they will dry. Because of this, you can dry your clothes in mere seconds by dropping a heat source and then dropping wet clothes from your inventory without moving at all, creating an infinitely small gap between the heat source and your wet clothes. This is a pro tip. This will dry your clothes in seconds. With the recent changes to how far away players can hear your actions, it will be harder for other players to hear what you're doing, but some actions are still completely silent and are worth using. For example, if you're trying to free a player and you don't want to alert the captors, All bayonets, axes, the hacksaw, sickle and screwdriver have no sound effect when you're cutting open restraints. Once free, you can drag and drop from the floor to make no sound at all to put weapons in your hands, allowing you to arm yourself in silence too. Then from the combat, if you do get a bleed, you can use a bandana to heal one bleed silently, as there's no sound for this either, which is basically the same as using one rag on yourself. Make sure you disinfect it first though. Using a rangefinder, you can see how far you're going to drop down before you drop. At 5 meters then, you're going to start taking shock damage. At 10 meters, you're going to start taking health damage. And after 10 meters, it quickly ramps up to instant death at 15 meters or more. And this is 15 meters of the rangefinder while standing. There's no item or medicine in DayZ that reduces your full damage, and the gear and shoes you wear makes absolutely no difference at all. But what does make a difference is your current speed. This means jumping off or sprinting off of one of these ledges will inflict more damage to you, where holding walk or prone crawling over the edge will do around 10% less damage. Most of the objects you see in buildings can be climbed on, even the doors, giving you a huge advantage in tactical positioning, not only because most players aim at eye level when they're clearing out buildings, they're also not going to be expecting you in certain areas, even if they know the layout of the building. Elevated positions are really overpowered, making it very hard for you to lose a firefight like this, for example. In some buildings, the combination of elevation near doorways is laughably OP, and this is just scratching the surface. Exploring and using tactical elevation in PvP is the mark of a real Chad in DayZ, opening up new possibilities that separate the men from the boys when it counts. Most glasses in DayZ significantly reduce sun glare, giving you no reason not to wear them. The difference here is amazing. However, most glasses tint your vision to the colour of the glasses, which isn't cool. But what's worse is it also makes nights darker, making it a bad idea to wear these at night unless you have tactical goggles, which are the only eyewear slot in DayZ that reduces sun glare without any colour tint and without making your nights darker. Tactical goggles are the way to go. If you knew all 10 of these tips, let me know below. Just write that you knew all the tips, and then a smart contract will automatically delete my channel using blockchain technology. But if you didn't know at least one of these tips, you are now morally obligated to leave one of the likes on this video, just one. Unless, of course, you're a Chad, in which case here are 20 more pro tips in 2 videos. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.